Andy, as a Brit who spent 6 years in China and has now lived in Spain for over 6 years, what has living and working overseas taught you the most?
That's certainly an interesting question, Chris. I recently reached my 6th anniversary here in Spain last December. So that was a milestone that caused me to reflect. Why do I do this? Why do I hop from country to country? And certainly, what does overseas living teach you? And I think it's taught me 3 main things. So first of all, I think living in different countries and cultures, it teaches you adaptability. You've got to navigate new environments. You've got to situations that challenge your own cultural norms. So you discover people with different attitudes, different mindsets, different ways of doing things. So if you want to survive, and not only survive, if you want to thrive, you've got to build the ability to embrace change. And that's a skill, I think, invaluable in today's business landscape. So as you experience the world firsthand, of course, you build a global mindset, and that broadens your worldview. And it helps to build a deep appreciation for cultural diversity and inclusivity. So that's number one. I think number 2, what are the other things it teaches you? The second one, I'd say, living overseas teaches you enhanced problem-solving skills. So the diverse challenges which you encounter working in different countries, they really are masterclasses in problem-solving. Not only do you need to negotiate those cultural differences, you have to deal with different bureaucracy, tax systems, let alone, of course, the language barriers, and a lot of unfamiliar business practices. And all of these things force you to think creatively. Now, I've set up businesses and built factories all over the world. So you're dealing with local government, you're dealing with local business community. I recall one particular project in China. I had the local mafia wanting the land that I purchased next door. So how do you deal with that one?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're living and working in different countries, you encounter situations that make you feel, if I could deal with that, I can deal with anything. And I think the third thing which overseas living teaches you is the value of building relationships. You cannot succeed on your own. You need help. And the relationships that I forged during my time in China, in Spain, and the other countries I've done business in, they extend far beyond just professional connections. You know, global living naturally builds a diverse network and one outside of your own business and industry sector. And that opens up tremendous opportunities. I certainly would not have launched the businesses I have today since I left the corporate world if it wasn't for the people I've met overseas and those relationships I built.
Mm-hmm. And that very journey is actually very, it's quite remarkable. So your journey from delivering business growth through new technologies in, FTSE, FTSE 250 companies to co-founding ventures in renewable energy and also pollution control. And that's very interesting. Oftentimes, this comes with some moment, with some pivotal moment that typically triggers this transition from, the corporate world, delivering growth in the business context in global companies, to starting your own ventures. So in your case, what was that pivotal moment that led you where you are today?
Well, Chris, I took the classic career path of someone out of university in the 80s and 90s. So I joined a multinational, a UK-based public limited company in my case. And I did the classic thing of working my way up the corporate ladder. So I started as a technologist. I moved into business management. I became CTO of the group. So I did 30 years in a corporate career. Last 6 of those were in China. I was building factories, setting up new businesses, transferring technology from the West to the East. So I think the pivotal moment for me was when I was recalled back to the mothership, back to the UK. I decided I just couldn't go back. I couldn't go back to my old house, back to my old job. I think innovators, by our very nature, you want to do new things. You need to do new things. And I had to search for that new thing. Now, I ended up moving to Spain, to Marbella, a place I'd never actually been to in my life. I think how I ended up here is maybe a story for another day. But so the corporate world is a great learning journey as you climb that corporate ladder. Mm-hmm. So I learned a lot. I made many friends. You see the world. I had a great time. But eventually, you've seen it all. There's nowhere left to go that isn't more of the same. So eventually, the corporate environment limits you. It's great. The journey's great, but ultimately it's self-limiting. So I had a decision to make. Do I join another corporate, or do I take what I've learned to do something new? So that first summer, when I'd moved to Spain with my wife, I think that was 2018. So I started reflecting on my corporate career, and I was thinking about what did I do in my corporate career that I enjoyed, and what did I do that I did not enjoy? One thing I enjoyed, I decided, was I like standing on a stage and talking to people. So I started to speak at lots of industry events. That led to some speaking gigs at corporate events. I decided I enjoyed working with new talent, mentoring up-and-coming professionals. So I launched a training company for technology and innovation talent with a group of colleagues. And that became what is now TTIP Global. I also decided I wanted to try to capture what I've learned in 30 years of innovation. So I wrote this series of business books. There was Transforming Technology into Profit, Cracking the Innovation Code, Building an Innovation Powerhouse. And so all of this speaking, training, writing, it all built up to, I started teaching MBA at a number of business schools. And that eventually led to the faculty position I now have at IE Business School. But above all, I decided the one thing I really enjoyed the most was building businesses, creating something truly new. And I'd done it plenty of times inside the company I'd worked for all those years. So why not for myself? So that's what I spent the last 5 years doing, creating this series of businesses. We talked a little about TTIP Global. We call ourselves the technology commercialization experts. Then came Pure Emissions, where we're bringing emissions control and carbon capture technology to the shipping industry. And most recently, we have a blockchain business, Block Capital. I think the important thing for me is all of these different business ventures they're with different groups of people. They're all completely separate. And of course, it gets me to play in completely different industry sectors. So exciting times.
It's interesting if you look at this from an innovation perspective, but also from the business perspective, because especially in large companies, innovation, so creating something new that can be a new business, but innovation is often celebrated for its aspects around creativity, also collaboration for sure. But the process of commercializing these innovations, so really turning them into profitable ventures, is not always as widely discussed as maybe the creativity or the culture aspect. Yeah. But of course, commercialization is crucial for business growth and sustainability of the business as well. So it can be overshadowed by this ideation phase of innovation, the collaboration phase, and the discussion around culture. So what we've discussed, Andy, prior to this episode, is that after more than 30 years in business, you actually decided to mostly drop the word innovation from your business vocabulary. Why is that?
Sure. So I think, what is innovation in a business context? You've talked about it. Is it the creation of the ideas, or is it the delivery of those ideas? So what I found is that depending on where people sit in their organization, they have a different answer. Now, it's all correct. No one's right or wrong, but it really doesn't help because it makes innovation kind of confusing and fluffy and nebulous. But I think those of us like yourself, Chris, those who exist in this world, people who write, who teach about innovation, you understand that the process of taking ideas to reality, it's a well-documented series of steps, and one that involves all functions of an organization. So When I started TTIP Global, we did start out as an innovation consultancy, but I soon found that the world is full of innovation consultants, innovation advisors, lots of people with innovation in their job title. And unfortunately, usually people who've never led or built a business themselves, and sometimes many with no practical experience of business at all. So I found it kind of a frustrating and muddy place to exist in. So we had a strategy review. We tried to decide, what are we actually trying to achieve? What's the value that we actually add to our clients? And we realized that what we actually do is we help commercialize new products. We take new technologies to market to make money. Now, that's a much more practical and business-oriented challenge, and one that all of our team are experts in. All my colleagues had long corporate careers like myself. So we've all got plenty of successes and failures along the way to learn from. And that's what we pass on. We pass on our know-how, the tools and techniques for success that we built up along the way. And of course, the huge network of contacts we have around the world. Plus, everyone in our team, they've all built their own business. So we now call ourselves the technology commercialization experts. And we believe that's an area no one can touch us in.